Pandering to social justice warriors, a Roger Goodell story, because suddenly now, in 2020, when everything is super trendy and super accepted on social media and corporate America, Roger Goodell, showing how brave and stunning he is, now wants to pretend like he cares about Colin Kaepernick and Colin Kaepernick's message. This is laughable. But he also admits in this interview that he extended the conversation to Colin Kaepernick multiple times, and Colin Kaepernick, being the coward that he is, did not take him up on the opportunity because Colin Kaepernick is not actually interested in actual conversation. He's not interested in dialogue. He's interested in playing a victim, a multimillionaire victim that was raised by white people, but he wants to play a victim. That is what Colin Kaepernick is interested in. He never cared about these things until he got benched, until he lost his job, and then suddenly he started to care, and he monetized all this virtue signaling, and I commend him for that, because there's a lot of stupid people out there that have made him out to be the next Muhammad Ali and all of this crazy stuff. But the reality of it is that he lost his job because he wasn't good enough, because Jim Harbaugh left and he got exposed. So he decided, I need to go in another career direction, and he did just that, because I, unlike the people that will tell you how great Colin Kaepernick is, I actually followed Colin Kaepernick. I knew who he was in college, and I was actually a fan of him in San Francisco. But once Harbaugh left, it was pretty easy to understand that this guy really did benefit from Harbaugh. He really did. And hey, he saw the writing on the wall, and he decided, hey, this is a way for me to make money, to, fake virtue signal to the Twitter crowd out there. And that's exactly what he's done. So let's listen to Roger Goodell on uncomfortable conversations with a black man. I would like to be on this show. I would love to have an uncomfortable conversation with you, Emmanuel. I would love to ask you about the Chicago weekend. 66 shot, 5 fatally. Why aren't you talking about that? What about China? Why don't you talk about that, Emmanuel? Why don't we have some uncomfortable conversations? Why don't we talk about all of the things that would make you uncomfortable? You want to talk about an uncomfortable conversation? Let's talk about it. Or we can talk about the trendy Twitter things that you want to talk about. But let's listen to Roger Goodell right here spew out a bunch of nonsense.
Understate how valuable the message that you put out a couple months was. At least as a former player, as a black man in society, that message, it resonated with me. It spoke to me. You said you listened, you heard, you learned. You even apologized to so many. But in the midst of all that, there wasn't a specific message or apology to the catalyst for it all, Kaepernick, who you mentioned. If you were to publicly express your remorse, apologize to Kaepernick, what would you say?
Well, the first thing I'd say is I wish we had listened earlier, Cap, to what you were kneeling about and what you were trying to bring attention to. We had invited him in several times.
We had invited him in several times to have the conversation. I want to repeat that one more time. We had invited him in several times to have the conversation.
To have the conversation, to have the dialogue. I wish we had the benefit of that.
Yeah.
And if we're actually being real, then Roger Goodell, you should follow it up with saying, but he was too much of a coward to actually come in and talk to us face to face. That's essentially what happened. You extended an invitation to have him come in and speak with you face to face, man to man, and he failed to do that because he is a coward.
Yeah. We never did. And, we would have benefited from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, because I've known for years now that the peaceful protests during the national anthem, it was never about the flag.
But it was never about the flag. Love how the goalposts continue to shift. I love how the goalposts continue to shift.
To the point where I just want to rip out my hair sometimes and say it's not about the flag.
Right.
If you were to be able to relay that message, what would you say? Like, to people who still think it's about the flag, what would you tell them?
It is not about the flag. The message here that what our players is doing is being mischaracterized. Mm-hmm.
Wait, we're talking about mischaracterizations now? Sure you want to go down that road? Sure you want to go down that road?
These are not people who are unpatriotic.
Yeah.
They're not disloyal. They're not against our military.
Yeah.
In fact, many of those guys were in the military.
Yeah.
And they were our military family. What they were trying to do is exercise their right to bring attention to something that needs to get fixed. And
like Chicago, right? Are we going to bring attention to Chicago? I mean, because this is just I just Googled Chicago. Like, and this is, like, you could do this every day. You could do this literally every day. Okay? Chicago, like, when was this? When was this posted? This was on August 3rd. Chicago sees its most violent month in 28 years as murders, shooting skyrocket. 24 children under 10 years old have been shot in Chicago this year. 24 children under 10 years old have been shot in Chicago this year. Murders and shooting in July increased drastically from 2019, according to new data released by Chicago police. Chicago had 105 murders in July, more than double the 44 in July 2019. I mean, but yeah, let's talk about the problems, right? No. You want to talk about the politically charged problems that the Democrats and the mainstream media want you to push. But the bigger point here is Colin Kaepernick does not care about these things. If you want to support him, you have every right to. And honestly, I'm at a point now with sports. Roger Goodell, if you mean what you say, go ahead and bring Kaepernick on. And I want him to make more money than Aaron Rodgers. I want him to make more money than Tom Brady. I want him to make more money than Drew Brees. I want him to make more than Patrick Mahomes. I want you to show us how much you really care about Colin Kaepernick. I want you to push for one of your more prominent teams to sign Colin Kaepernick and max him out. Because Colin Kaepernick has been offered jobs, but he seems to think he's worth all this money. So I say go for it, NFL. Please. If you really do believe it, which we know you don't, if you really do believe the bullshit that you just spewed, Roger Goodell, sign Kaepernick. I'm begging you to please sign Colin Kaepernick to a max deal. I want Colin Kaepernick to make more money than any quarterback in the NFL. I want him to get paid more than Patrick Mahomes. I want him to get paid more than Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, you name it, Phillip Rivers, whoever. I want him to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Show us. Put your money where your mouth is, NFL. Roger Goodell, you claim you care. Let's see how much you care. I would love for Colin Kaepernick to get signed, and I would love for Colin Kaepernick to be the starting quarterback for an NFL team in 2020. Please let that happen. Hey, at least you can fake crowd cheers because there's not going to be crowd there, so you can put the fake crowd noise in. Call Atlanta. Call the Falcons. They know all about that. So go ahead. Make it happen. Make it happen, Roger Goodell. I am in full support of Colin Kaepernick coming back to the NFL and getting signed for a team at top dollar. That's what I want to see. And then when your ratings go down in the drain, who you gonna blame? Oh, you'll probably call your fans toxic and isms and all of that other nonsense. Oh, I can't wait. The NFL season is heading for a disaster, just like the NBA season right now. Your ratings are tanking because it's all about politics. It's all about Orange Man Bad. It's all about LeBron telling you how we don't bend for nobody, except when he went over to China and he shut up and he dribbled because he was too scared to actually speak out on real oppression. He wants to continue to preach about fake oppression. And here you got Colin Kaepernick talking about all of this stuff, yet wearing a Castro shirt, because that is your hero right there, Roger Goodell. Sign Kaepernick today. Max deal, starting NFL quarterback next year or this year. I want to see it. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think Roger Goodell really believes what he's saying? Of course he does not, but that's how virtue signaling works. It's all about pandering for the Twitter world. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.